Hey guys, I have an exciting dupe video for you today, or I think it's exciting anyway. I have been trying so many primers recently. I did a review and compare series on primers. I've done a previous one, a review and compare on primers, and outside of that I've tested a couple just because I've been noticing my pores. You guys have been so sweet and saying they don't show in videos that I've done. I'm really enjoying the Kiehl's one. I love the Becca one, but I think it's a little bit tricky to work with in that it's quite, like you put it on and it's almost instantly matte. You need to warm it in your fingers and then you need to be careful really to blend it right, and then sometimes your makeup can sit a bit funny on top of it, I feel, but I do love it. It's the best one so far for filling in pores, but it's super expensive. So I tried a couple of others and I found one and I thought, this feels just like the Becca one except better. So to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm going to call this a dupe or an alternative, or like if it's not a complete dupe, sometimes I say alternative to the Becca. If I'm just comparing the two, I might call it Becca versus the other one, or I might call it dupe, I'm not sure, but I would say it's pretty much a dupe of the Becca. So the one I'm talking about is this one. It is the No7 Beautifully Matte Makeup Base. The interesting thing about No7 is they have this Beautifully Matte Makeup Base, which I'll give you the prices here, but there's also another one, which of course I've forgotten, and it's in the living room because I used it this morning, which is called, I think, Shine Free or something like that. It's smaller than this, but it's more expensive, and it's nothing like either of these two. It feels more silicone-y and slippy and smooth, whereas these two feel more alike. So I just wanted you to know there is another one, so be careful which one you're choosing. So let me give you the details of these two, and I have got a picture of them both on so you can see that. I would say the Becca is like 99% effective and the No7 one is probably 90% effective. But for me, this is what I'll buy going forward just because of the price, assuming I use them, because I'm terrible with trying to remember to use primers. Okay, first we'll talk about Becca, and this is called the Ever Matte Poreless Priming Perfector. And this is what the tube looks like. In here you get 40ml. And this is £28, so it's not cheap. You know I've got my spreadsheet, I always do. That's what I'm doing if I'm looking down. This is the claim of the Becca one. It minimises pores, mattifying even the most oily skin for up to 8 hours. Controls excess oil while minimising the appearance of pores. Sweat and humidity resistant, this product is free of silicone, oil, alcohol and fragrance. So there's no silicone in this, which would appeal to some people, and that appeals to me actually because I don't like the feeling of silicone on my skin. The weird thing about it is I can't always tell, because this one does have silicone in it, I can't feel it. The No7 does have silicone in it and I can feel it, so very strange. Anyway, this one does not have silicone. It does have parabens in it, it does not have alcohol, and it does not have perfume in it. So I know that those things, I always try and include those things in any of my review series, whether it's got alcohol, perfume or parabens. Different people are worried about different things, and I'm certainly not going to preach to anybody and say you shouldn't buy something with this in it, because there is no pure product out there. Well, there is, but you'd have to buy it and make it yourself, pretty much. If you want to buy something that's going to last a long time, that's in a tube, that's going to have preservatives in it, you're going to struggle to get everything free, and you're going to have to do a lot of research. And I think that it's your choice. I have done a video on beauty chemicals if you're interested in watching that, but I just wanted to give you all the information. So I'll tell you about parabens, alcohol, perfume, and for this, silicone. So my notes on the ingredients just say it's got enanttia chlorantha bark extract and it's got oleanolic acid in it. So there's some good ingredients. So the formula of the Becca one is really interesting, and when I first got it, I wasn't sure if I'd got a funny tube that was off or something. It comes out absolutely fine at the moment, but I think that that's because the weather has warmed up. So it is just like, it's just like a very thick cream, but when it was a bit colder, it was like a crumbly texture. And when I put it on my skin, it was just kind of balling up as if it was way too dry and I couldn't get it on my fingers. But when I read the instructions, it tells you to warm it between your fingers before using it. And I guess, like I said, now that it's warmer weather, you don't necessarily need to do that. It's also quite hard to spread on your face, so you really do need to do that warming bit first. And then you need to kind of pat it in your skin, but pat it in really, really well and make sure you've sort of worked it in, because otherwise, what I found was when I've been putting it on, and I've still not perfected this 100%, I put my makeup on, it does cover the pores and it's great, but it would sort of draw my foundation to it. So by the end of the day, although it's done its job and it has kept me oil free and it's covered my pores, foundation would be missing from, say, my forehead, other than this little bit here where I'd put the primer on. So it's doing it less and less the better I get at kind of making sure it's really evenly patted in. But I don't think it's something like the cure isn't, or the solution isn't to put it all over your face, because I think that would feel too much. It would feel too drying, and you'd use too much as well with it being so expensive. But it's just something that I think you need to practice applying, but it does really do the job. It does keep you oil free. It does cover the pores. I don't think it covers pores all day. I can't remember, did it say 8 hours? It says keep the mattifying even the most oily skin for up to 8 hours. It does mattify, I think, but it doesn't minimize the pores for all that time. I haven't found anything that lasts on the pores. So that's that one. Then onto the No7 Beautifully Matte one. This one is £10.50 for the same amount, so 40ml in this tube as well. So it's a third of the price, which is quite a big difference. The claims on the No7 one are that it's an oil-absorbing biopole, helps minimise blemishes and blot away shine without blocking pores. This matte base has light reflecting particles which help disguise fine lines and flaws. This No7 makeup base contains watermelon and cucumber extract to help soothe and cool your skin. This one, like I said, does have silicone in it. It does have it does have parabens, it does have alcohol, but it does not have perfume. So it loses out in the way of silicone if that is something that bothers you, and it loses out in alcohol, which isn't in the Becca one. The key ingredients are vitamin E, salicylic acid, which again some people might want, some people might not, and witch hazel. So this doesn't say much about pores, but I found that interesting because it does for me make a difference to my pores. It does say that it works on blemishes and fine lines, so I can see why it works on pores, but this seems to be more about improving blemishes, and I guess that's the salicylic acid and the witch hazel in it. The texture of it is pretty much the same as the Becca one now that it's warmed up, in that it's a bit of a drier texture. It's not quite as dry as the Becca one, but it's quite thick and you need to be careful kind of blending it in. This is another one that did keep me shine free. It worked as well as the Becca one. Like I said, it doesn't work 100% on the pores. I would say this one is a 90% efficacy. This one would be a 99% efficacy on the pores if that is your main concern. But otherwise, I put this on one half and this on one half, and they performed as well. And then I've tried it in so many different ways. I've tried it with the Becca on one side and nothing on the other side, with this on one side and nothing on the other side, these two against each other, these separately against other primers, and I just think that these two work the same for me. And so perhaps if you're thinking about buying the Becca, maybe buy the No7 Beautifully Matte and see how you get on. And obviously it depends what you're buying it for. I have just put some notes down here about the other No7 one because I thought that was interesting. It's called, so this one is No7 Beautifully Matte. This one is called No7 Stay Perfect Shine Free Primer. It says keep shiny skin under control with its mattifying oil-free base. Again, it's got light reflecting particles, as does their Beautifully Matte base. Minimises blemishes, the same. Contains watermelon and cucumber extract. So they sound very, very similar. They've both got biopole in them. The only difference is this one is cheaper. This one is £10.50 for this size. The No7 Stay Perfect is £12.50, so not much more expensive, but you get half of the amount, which is a bit unusual. So I'm not sure of the ingredient or the reason for why that one is more expensive. That one does have silicones. It doesn't have parabens though, interestingly. So if you're looking for a paraben-free one, the No7 Stay Perfect might be worth a look. It doesn't have alcohol, it doesn't have perfume, it does have silicone. It's got talc, vitamin E and glycerin in it. I do like it. It's a pretty good primer. I've used that one today and it's very silky feeling. It's just, I don't like silicone primers per se. That one I can probably get away with it. I'm not going to give it away. I'm probably going to use that. I don't use it on my chin because I do feel like it will clog my pores, even though I know the point of it is to not clog your pores and is to help with that. Salicylic acid doesn't do anything for my breakouts at all, but I am just going to use it kind of in the center of my face. And it feels kind of semi-matte to me. It's not as matte as both of these are. So I think and hope I've answered everything. I know this wasn't a hugely in-depth review. Normally I talk a bit more about them, but there's only so many things I think you can say about these. I'm still not 100% sure which is my favourite because I haven't used either of them, you know, for months and months. I probably had them both for about a month. I'm going to now stop trialing everything against each other, and I'm probably going to use, say, the Becca matte one for the next little while and see if I can find a way for it not to do that thing where it gathers the foundation to it and kind of cakes it up. Like I said, I'm getting better at it, but if by the end of the tube I haven't managed to stop that happening, then I will stick to this one. But then once I've finished that, or maybe even halfway through it, I will switch to this one and use this for a while and see how I get on, and see which one I prefer that way, you know. But for now, they're both as good as each other, but this one is a lot cheaper, so I'm hoping that that will help you guys. I know there are some of you out there that love the Becca matte, the Becca what is it called? The Becca Ever Matte Poreless Priming Perfector. So maybe you guys will be interested in trying the Boots number 7 one. So thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for listening, and I shall see you again in my next video.